Good evening, cowboys, cowgirls, and outlaws. Welcome to the Slick Sixguns Network. I'm your host, Slick Sixguns, and I'm here to provide education, tips, and community for those interested in the Western shooting sports. If you're interested in stuff like that, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notifications bell so you don't miss anything. Now let's pack our wagons and see what's being discovered out west. Good morning and welcome to the Slick Sixguns Network Coffee with Slick Sixguns, where you come for the content but you stay for the conversation. I am proud to talk to you guys today. Really excited, and once again we are in another week of live streams, so this will be interesting, and I hope that you guys end up enjoying what we are going to present today. But as you guys know, this content is specifically meant for me to get to know viewers. It's meant for you guys to ask me questions in a way that is more interactive than, say, just my standard YouTube videos. And of course, we are always going to do that with our favorite cup of coffee. As you know, this is Coffee with Slick Sixguns, so make sure that you've got your coffee ready to go. Please let me know what you guys are drinking in the comments section. I would love to hear it. As we know that somewhere it is 5 o'clock somewhere, as they say. So if you have your favorite libation of wine, whiskey, beer, whatever, doesn't matter to me. Whatever you're drinking, let me know in the comment section what you are having today. Today I am having my coffee from my favorite shop in town called Mojo's. So I am excited to go ahead and share this cup of coffee with you. So cheers. So before I get into the main content, I want to go ahead and just let you guys all know that first off, I'm really thankful for everyone that has time to follow me and also has taken the ability to follow me, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all the other social media platforms. But I wanted to say that without viewers like you, nothing of this could be possible. So I just want to say that if you feel the need to ever support any of the content, or if you're interested in all this content, or if there's a particular content that you would like to see on my channel that has to do with the Western shooting sports, by all means, go ahead and feel free to support me on Patreon, on Buy Me a Coffee, and I have all those links down in the description below. Also, just letting you guys know, if you guys do buy me a coffee, I will mention you in our coffee shows on our Facebook pages as a contributor and those who bought me a coffee that day. So I will give my cheers to you. So thank you so much. All right, so as we're getting into this stuff, I want to go ahead and tell you that the content that I'm going to be talking about today is a particular revolver within my collection. I'm going to be talking about not only the revolver and showing it to you, but I'm also going to tell you how much I paid for it, because by all means somebody might be thinking about getting one. What I think of it, although this is not a review video, what I use it for, and why'd I get it. So, that'll be some pretty interesting conversation pieces, if you will, to go ahead and get started on. But, cheers. You guys notice in the background I got my green screen. As I said, I'm getting a little bit more professional with my Facebook videos, much like I was with my YouTube videos, so therefore it's going to be some pretty good content. Alright, I'm going to preface before I show my actual revolver to you that I have made sure that it is safety checked, and for all those range safety officers out there, this revolver has been checked and is not loaded. I will show it on camera though to make sure that everybody is completely satisfied. So without further ado, here we go. If you have any comments to bring up, please ask me in the comment section. I will go ahead and show you that this weapon is clear, as you guys can see. Spin it a couple times. Weapon is clear. Alright. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is my Uberti 1872 Open Top. It is not an original, it is a repro. The originals are extremely expensive, and there were very few of them made. This is not a history video, so please do not 100% go by me about what I'm going to be talking about with this revolver. I will go ahead and show you first what it looks like, how pretty she is, how fancy she is, or you can judge how fancy I am based on what I'm showing you. Anyway, it's got a one-piece grip here. Bright, nice stain on it. Some people really don't like the stains on these revolvers, I'll tell you that. Back strap is going to be nickel plating, or it looks to be nickel plating. Going to the frame, you're going to see that it's an open top, doesn't have the top strap. It's got the front side here, or the rear side here on the rear of the barrel, as opposed to the conversions where you are going to see the sight over here on the hammer. It's a 5.5-inch barrel. It's just rounded, not squared off or octagonal like you're going to see with some of the conversions or an 1851 Navy or something like that. Going down to the front sight, you're just going to see a standard, a standard post here. Look inside her dovetailed sight. Not dovetailed, press-fitted sight, I should say. And it's got an ejector rod on it. The ejector rod on it is interesting. It's not normal. It's not normal compared to any other single-action army or something you might consider to be an ejector rod of a Ruger New Vaquero or a Ruger Blackhawk. This one, instead of pushing directly back, you actually have to twist and push. All right, so that's kind of interesting. It is 6-shot, 6 shots in the cylinder, 45 Colts, which is not what the originals were chambered in. As I said, this is a repro. So look at that big bore right there. Very nice big bore. You got those big old bullets coming out of there. So it's exciting. Just a very overall pretty looking revolver for me. I like the engraving on the cylinder here. Those of you guys can see it. Hopefully you can. Very pretty. It's got some interesting features on it other than the ejector rod here. It has a safety that you can engage if you want to with a screwdriver. It's very small. I've never used it, so that I guess if you really wanted to carry all 6, you could. It does not have a rebounding firing pin on it. It's just a fixed firing pin. And the firing pin is actually on the hammer. It's not on the frame. So, just a very nice looking revolver here. I'm going to go ahead and give some people some quick shout outs just to let them know that they're on the channel. Tom Kennedy, James Huntsberger, thank you for joining. Alright, so please feel free to get your coffee out, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are still watching. Alright, so let's talk about this revolver a little bit. I'm not going to cover a review. I'm not going to go into the history of it. I may talk a little bit about some historical things just to kind of keep things going. But, you know, they're going to be basically most off of what I have seen, not necessarily what you've heard in the history books or what other people have talked about. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to talk to you guys about how much it cost me, why I bought this, what I use it for, and what I think of it. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that. So what did this cost me? Because by all means, some of you might be thinking, how much is this gonna, how much is this gonna run me if I decide to purchase something like this? And I purchased this thing several years ago, mind you, and prices have changed, obviously. For those of you who have kind of taken a look at how much guns are costing now, and for me, I thought I got a pretty good deal on it. Obviously, this is not an original, so I am not paying the original price tag, but I think I am paying a decent price for it. And I think for those of you who are interested in a revolver like this, in my opinion, I think it is one of the more budget-friendly revolvers out there. Compared to some. And if you guys see some of my actual review on my YouTube channel, you'll see that my opinion has kind of changed a little bit of this revolver, because I'm going to tell you what I use it for. But how much does it cost me? Well, this revolver cost me about between $500 and $600 when I first bought it. That price point has probably changed and is no longer current, but to me it was very budget friendly at the time, and for what I was getting, I thought I was getting a pretty good deal. So, I think if you are one of the more budget minded, even though you want something with a little more class, a little bit more flair, something a little bit more unique, I think an open top probably might be within your budget. But that was about 5 years ago, 5-6 years ago when I bought this thing. So it could have changed now, and from what I've seen, they're kind of hard to find. Just obviously, unless you go to a gun show, or if you go to somebody who is actually interested in selling you this as a private sale. So I think that's just my 2 cents. Paid a good price for her, in my opinion. So, had it for 5 or 6 years, and why did I get her? Okay, well, for those of you who have been following me for any length of time, you're going to know that I have an extensive array of firearms. You're going to know that I have quite the collection. I'm not going to give you the exact number, but I'm sure that if you guys go through my YouTube videos, you'll be able to see that I have quite an extensive collection and count how many I have. Have I sold some of them over the last couple of years? Sure. Have I acquired new ones? Yes, I have. And every single firearm I purchase with some type of reason, whether it be ridiculous in your opinion or not, does not matter. It is simply why I do it. But everybody purchases firearms for a certain reason, I'm sure. And, some people go out there and they buy it just because. And that is a reason as well, regardless of what people think. So, why did I purchase this firearm? Well, I wanted something that really looked like a unique style revolver. I didn't want something that was the standard Colt single action Army look. And at the time, I didn't want to get a Colt single action Army because it was not within my budget. But I wanted something that people would look at the range and think, wow, that is actually something that is really cool. And, it's just not something that you see that often. You see some in the movies, and, yes, you go to some cowboy matches, you may see them. A lot of people, the majority of what I've seen go with a single action Army style, regardless of whether it's a real single action Army or not. But this is something that they do use as well, but you see these less often. You'll see people with conversions, and then you'll see people with open tops, and they are two very different revolvers. But this is an open top style, and that's what it is called. It is called a open top. So I got it because I wanted a unique revolver. I wanted somebody to look at it and ooh and ah and, drool all over it and be jealous of the fact that I even have this. And just by sheer happenstances, if they ever wanted to buy it, if they ever wanted to buy something like this, it would cause them to want to. I always consider myself a little bit of a marketer of the sport with what I wear and how I dress and what type of weapons I use, because the more people that go out there and purchase firearms like this means the more competitors we have, and the more likely that this sport will perpetually go on. So that's kind of why I do it, just a little bit. So that is why I got it. Now, I did not intend to get this revolver in a nickel finish. I did not think that was even possible. I kind of got lucky. So I knew a friend of mine that was, you know, that was able to find one and hooked me up, and luckily I was able to find a nickel-plated finish look to it. I've always been a fan of nickel-plated. I do like blued, don't get me wrong. I think blued and color case hardening is absolutely beautiful. I have nothing against them. I just love, as much as diamonds are a girl's best friend, nickel plating is a good best friend of mine. So, you know, you really want to attract me, you better have some nickel plating on you. So, nickel plating is very pretty looking. It's just shiny. It cleans up really well. Holds up pretty well against black powder fouling if you use it, in my opinion. So does color case hardening. They all do. But the thing with nickel plating is you can also see where the dirt and grime is just because it's more shiny, and you can clean it a little easier. I think that's great, and I love it for that. So, but I have not yet seen another one of these in a nickel plating variant. Not to say that they don't exist, and I'm not saying that they are rare, but I have yet to see them, and usually they come in a blued finish. So that's what I really like about this revolver, is it's just a nice barrel length. I always like the 5.5 in my opinion. You know, people get them shorter, get them longer. I do eventually want a longer barrel in some of my revolvers, but most of my revolvers right now are 5.5. I do have some cap and ball revolvers that are 7 inches or longer. You know, and for all intents and purposes, that was their original design. You know, and the originals don't 100% go by me. You can look up my video because I did a history of it. But the originals came out with longer barrels than 5.5 for sure. I believe they all came out with 7-inch barrels or 7.5. They did not come in 5.5-inch barrels. They had to be cut down by the owners or by a gunsmith in order to end up with that. So an all original open top would be something, a open top revolver would have a 7-inch barrel. But this has a 5.5-inch repro, and it just fits my holsters great. I love it. She goes well with my costume. Okay, so I've told you what it costs. I've told you why I bought it. Now I'm going to tell you what do I use this thing for. Okay? So before I get started on that, I'm going to take a sip here. By all means, if you ever want to ask me any questions, feel free to shoot them in the comment section. If I don't answer them in the video, I will try to answer them later on. But why? What do I use this for? Well, when I initially bought this, I bought this initially just to do reenacting. Because I was getting involved not only with the cowboy action circuit, but doing some reenacting in my local community. And I did not want to use my competition guns for reenacting, because my competition guns to me were to help me get faster, and this was something that it was going to be just all stock gun. I wasn't going to change anything with it. I didn't really plan to use it for competition, but I thought it would be something good to be used in reenacting. So that's what I bought it for, and I wanted it specifically to shoot black powder and black powder only, which it doesn't anymore, and I'll get into that in a little bit. You know, it was shooting black powder blanks in reenacting, and you know, that's what I used it for. So that's what I wanted it to do, and it served me really well. Have I used other guns in reenacting? Yes, I have. Other than this, as I said, my collection has gotten a lot bigger, so therefore I have shown more in the reenacting when it comes to the different styles and the different types of revolvers out there. So, but that's what I bought this for, and it served me well. I haven't really done a whole lot of reenacting in the last couple of years. I kind of stopped because I wanted to focus more on other things, and you know, I got more interested in just doing the Western shooting sports than I did in reenacting. You know, nonetheless, it's been good for me. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you what I think of this revolver. And you guys, by all means, can share in the comment section what you think of the revolver as well. So let me know what you think. As I said, this is not a review, so please do not take it as such. This is just simply my personal opinion of it. This is not an honest... It's an honest opinion. It is not, quote-unquote, an honest review, if you will, because I'm not telling you about the specs on it and how it compares to other revolvers and all that. So this is my opinion on it. My opinion on it, mind you, this video is not sponsored by anybody who manufactures this or sells this, so my opinion on it is that, is it worth it to have? Yes, absolutely. If you are at all interested in any type of Western history, and specifically firearms history, this is a must-have, just because of where it falls in line with revolver development. So from a historical standpoint, if that is something you are interested in, it's something you definitely should be getting. And it is something I definitely feel that I had to have, because if I didn't have some type of open top with all the single action army variants that I have out there, then, you know, I really wasn't being a true collector. So, and if you are a collector, I think you should definitely have one. Mind you, if you want to collect the originals, go ahead, good luck finding them. I've only seen one at all, and no, I've seen two. One at a gun show, and then one at an actual store here in Texas at some point. They will be extremely expensive because they are very rare to find. They will not fire center fire cartridges unless somehow they've been converted, because they were originally meant to fire rim fire. And you'll know that because the firing pin is actually going to be on the side of the hammer rather than in the center. So, what else? What else do I think of this revolver? It's beautiful looking. It is one of the more aesthetically pleasing to look at guns that I have ever owned. I just think it is something that I admire. You know, I can use it as a conversation piece. I can use it as a historical piece. And it's just something nice to pull out, look at, shiny, shoot if I really want to. And, you know, it's just a beautiful looking gun. I think it's definitely, for the price point and for the way it looks, it's well worth it. Let's see. This thing, kind of a con, it's a pain in the butt to clean. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's a pain in the butt to take apart. You kind of have to break them in a little bit. It's not like a single action army where you can just take out the cylinder and you're good to go, and you can just, you know, you can just clean down the barrel, clean down the chambers without doing 100% detail strip. This thing, you actually have to take the pin out of, you have to take the wedge out of the barrel. You have to use enough strength to get the actual barrel off, and you know, it's kind of maintenance heavy when it comes to that. You're going to need a screwdriver. You can't necessarily do this without tools. It's not field strip friendly, if you will. You know, mind you, if you break them in, maybe you can finagle a way to do it, but I still use a screwdriver because, you know, that's the most efficient way I've seen it done. And you have to have some type of strength to get the barrel off. You know, there is no ramrod on this, so it's not like on the conversions where you can just use the ramrod to assist you. You actually have to use a little bit of strength. There's other ways of getting the barrel off too. I'm not going to mention it on here because people are going to hate me. But anyway, it's kind of a pain in the butt to do that. So that's kind of a con, I would say. You know, it comes off in 3 pieces, and you got to just make sure that you don't lose all the pieces when you take them out. You know, lose the screws, lose the ejector rod housing. You know, so you just got to be careful. So, but if you don't care about that, and if that is not something that you're worried about, then, you know, it really doesn't matter. Shootability, pointability, I think it's great. I've shot this one-handed, two-handed, 1 revolver in each hand. It's worked fine for me. The hammer spur is a little high, so, you know, for somebody who has shorter thumbs, it might be a little bit difficult to do one-handed. So keep that in mind. Mind you, the sights are very fine as well. They aren't as fat and as thick as some of the single-action armies that I've seen. It's just a very small sight picture, much like what you're going to see on the cap and ball revolvers, except the sight radius is a little bit shorter. So, you know, acquisition is good at close range, I would say. You know, and I've taken this thing out to 50 yards before and shot and still hit a target. So, you know, it's accuracy, as I said, is never really, you know, some of it might be dependent on the gun, but it's also dependent on the shooter. This gun has shot well, worked well whenever I've needed it to. So therefore, I'd say that she shoots great. I have had a couple issues when it comes to the springs, so that might be something that some people might have some stipulations about. Okay, I would not recommend this, in my opinion, for someone who's a first-time revolver owner, especially with the single-action armies. Mind you, the internals are pretty much all the same, but I'd say this is something that maybe a more experienced, someone who has done some revolver shooting for a while and kind of understands how they work, because they are a little bit more maintenance heavy, and also the springs on them, like I said, have a tendency to break. For example, the bolt spring on this broke on me within the first 100 rounds, and I had to replace it, and I replaced it with an aftermarket part, and it hasn't broken since. So, you know, they'll probably have some type of malfunction. Mind you, the bolt springs on 2 revolvers that I've had have broken. So it's the design. It's not necessarily as strong as some of the springs out there that you can get in aftermarket. So my opinion is that if you get one of these, you switch out the flat springs for you know, the flat spring bolt spring for a wire spring, which is a little bit thicker. Looks thinner, but it's thicker in diameter. So it'll definitely keep this gun running for a lot longer, and it will function a lot better for you. The tolerances on this, to me, are really tight, even for as long as I've had it and as long as I've shot it. You know, there is no end shake that I have on this revolver when it comes to the cylinder, so it doesn't go back and forth. You know, sometimes you're going to have that with some revolvers. In this one, I haven't. But then again, you know, I'm not shooting extremely powerful loads going through this, but the steel holds up great. You know, the screws on mine are a little bit worn because I have taken it apart so much, you know, especially on the wedge. And then, you know, a little bit on the back strap here. So I would say that it is definitely, you know, it's going to be interesting taking it apart several times. So yeah. What else? What else should I say about this revolver that I think about it in my opinion? It's the same function as any other, similar to the Colt single action Army. So nothing super special about that except for the ejector rod. I do not necessarily like the ejector rod in my opinion. It's different, but I don't like it. I do not like the fact that I have to twist out like this to use it. So whereas on a Colt single action Army you just got to push back, but with this one you got to actually twist it. I don't really like that feature. However, you know, like I said, it's what it came as the stock. It is what it is. It's just a little thing that I don't personally like, in my opinion. On a good note, the ejector rod is actually thicker. So you'll definitely, say if you use this thing for cowboy fast draw, you can actually eject spent casings a lot easier rather than a Colt single action Army variant, because from what I've seen on some of the Colt single action variants, the ejector rod will actually go through the primer hole and it won't kick out the casing, and you kind of have to finagle it a little. But this one's fat enough that it'll just kick the round right out. So that is just something that is very interesting. Good. So does anybody have any questions on this revolver? I'll go ahead and show it to you a little bit more, and you know, maybe I can answer a few questions out there. Alright, so as I said, it's a nickel plated finish. Got a one-piece wood grip here going into the grip frame. Got some nice scroll work here, open top. Nice, very clean looking hammer there. This revolver is not necessarily clean by any means. I have shot it and I really haven't cleaned it since the last time I shot it. Probably, you know, people are going to hate on me for that. That's okay. Going into the forcing cone area, very tight tolerances there, but the cylinder does turn very fine, no issue. Even when I reassemble it, you just got to be careful with the wedge here when you do that. Going down to the front sight, and there you go. You got the roll markings here, and the caliber is actually on the ejector rod, or on the underside of the barrel, kind of out of the way. So it's kind of neat there. There you go. Going down to that barrel, going down to the muzzle, and she just looks very nice right there. You know, very clean looking. So she's good. All right. Well, I'm enjoying my coffee, and I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the content. So I'm glad that you dropped by. By all means, shoot me a line on the comment section. I'll see if I can answer your questions about my Uberti Open Top. And thank you for tuning in. I will see you on the next episode next week. Thank you. Description section is a link to our Patreon account if you feel like supporting us. Don't forget to buy me a coffee as well. It's cowgirls and cowboys. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. And if you're looking forward to the next video, I'll see you on down the trail. Have a good one.